Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Sebastian from Severalnines. Welcome. In the next 30 minutes or so of the webinar, we'll be speaking about tips to automate common database tasks. Well, first of all, who I am. Who am I? I'm working on it since I was 18, so a lot of time. I have experience with MySQL replication, group replication, Galera cluster, Postgres, different operating systems, different service and security solutions, high availability environments, disaster recovery plans, and now I'm part of Severalnines support team. Well, that was a short introduction about me. Now this is the agenda for today. First, we will see some common tasks that you should perform managing databases. And then we will see how cluster control can help you on this task. So let's start seeing which are these common tasks. Well, first, deployment. There are different topologies. For example, you can deploy a standalone database with just one node. That can be dangerous if you have some issue because the recovery could be slow. Then you have replication, which could be master-slave, master-master, depends on the technology or on your requirements. Then you have clusters. It could be single master where you will use just one node to write, or multi-master where you can write in all the nodes. And then you have a high availability environment where you will need a mix of this. You will need a database replication or a database cluster, and you need to add a load balancer and a virtual API address to have high availability in that environment. And there are also different kind of high availability. High availability that depends on your required recovery time objective. For example, the recovery time will be lower having a database cluster than a database replication, as you don't need to promote anything there. You should need to change your endpoint on your application, or even better, if you have a load balancer, you don't need to change anything. For all these topologies, you need to install configure the software. Then monitoring. This is one of the fundamental tasks in any system. It can be useful to detect problems and take actions, or just to know the current status of your system. Also, using some visual tool can make this task easier, like having graph or colors to identify important metrics. There are different things to monitor on a system, and we can separate this in two main parts. You have database monitoring and host monitoring. For the database side, you can monitor queries like, for example, number of selects, insert, updates. Then the number of active sessions, logs, IO utilization, replication status or replication lag. And for the host, you have CPU usage, RAM or swap usage, load average, network traffic. For all these metrics, you should have an alert to know when something goes wrong. This is an example of some alerts. You can receive it by email, or if you are using some tool, you should receive it there. For example, if you are using Slack or PagerDuty, you should have some alert there. Then the backup management. Well, backing up is a must in database administration. There are different types of backups. You have logical backups that create plain text with plain text files with the SQL statements, and you have also physical backups, that is a copy of the data files. You need to perform some tasks of these backups, like rotation. This is to avoid some disk space issue. You need to verify the backup. You need to confirm that the backup is working and it can be used in case of failure. You should store it also in a different place, in the cloud, for example. If you have some issue with your infrastructure, you need to keep the information safe in another place. You need to encrypt the backup if it is required. And also maybe you should have a point in time recovery backup to restore the database in any moment in the past. This could be useful to recover from corrupted data or unintentional delete. Failover and recovery. Well, here documentation is always necessary. Create the documentation, it is a time-consuming task, but you must have it for sure. You need to know what you need to do in case of failure. If your master node is down, you cannot spend time looking for how to fix it. You need to have it documented to know how to proceed in case of failure. The failover or recovery could be manual, just promoting a slave node manually, or it could be automatic, having a script or some tool to promote it. There are different checks to perform before promoting anything. You should know if it is really necessary, and if it's not just a false alarm. And you will need to know which node should we promote. You can also have a mix. I mean, configuring something to try to perform an automatic recovery, and if it fails, you should be able to run it manually. And after a failover, you must reconfigure the rest of the nodes to connect to the new master. Then you have the user management. Well, you should be able to create new users, update, delete existing ones, and also you need to manage privilege. You need to limit the privilege as less as possible to restrict actions. You need to have password requirements, for example, the numbers of characters or symbols, or these different requirements, and restrict access from a specific host. Now, related to the previous point, we have security. You need to be as up to date as possible. So upgrades here are necessary. I mean, upgrades from both operating system and database side. There are minor fixes or upgrades probably every week or every month. So you should upgrade it when it is possible. Also, encryption is important. Encryption at rest, like backups or even in transit using SSL encryption. And operational reports, well, they are an excellent way to automate reports about the status of the system. You can create it daily, weekly, or as you wish. That depends on the traffic and your requirements. With this, you can know what is happening just watching the report. You can know, for example, if the backups are complete, if you have upgrades available, and it is the best way to stay on top of everything, or almost everything. And you don't need to access the server for this. You just need to watch the report. You will also have historical information. If you receive it by email, or if you store on disk, you can check how was everything, for example, last week. It is important to have it in a user-friendly way. If you receive an email with a lot of characters without any format, it could be hard to find something or identify an issue there. So you will need graphs or probably color highlighted information. So the question is, how can I automate or make easier all these tasks? Well, the answer is cluster control. This is an all-in-one system where you have backup management, monitoring and alerting, deployment, scaling, upgrades, security, operational reports, configuration management, automatic recovery, performance management, advisors, and even more. So now let's take a look on this tool. So, well, this is the cluster control main screen. Here you will have all the clusters that you are managing with cluster control. Let's take a look on the first task, the deployment. You can go here to the deploy section. You can deploy the on-prem cluster, or this cluster control has a feature to deploy in the cloud. So you need to create, if you have some account in Azure, Google Cloud, or AWS, you don't need to create the virtual machines. You should need to go here, select the technology. For example, let's use Postgres. You need to specify the number of nodes, the cluster name, the database credentials, server port. You need to select the credential here, in this case AWS. Then you need to specify the virtual machine size and operating system, SSH key, the network, and you can add a load balancer in the same shop here. Then that's it. Cluster control will use the credentials, the cloud credentials, to create all the environment in the cloud, and you will have this cluster in cluster control. You can manage it. You can manage the cluster from here. Similar is the deploy on-prem. You can, well, this is not necessarily on-prem. I mean, in this section, if you have some virtual machines in the cloud, it is the same. We will use this way. For example, for MySQL replication, you will need an SSH user. You can add a cluster name, and you can choose if you want cluster control install the software, disable the firewall or the app armor or the Linux here. Then you can specify the vendor version, the server port, credentials, and finally the topology. In this case, you can deploy master slave, master with several slaves node, and that's it. You will have the cluster created. Then for another task was monitoring and alerting. So let's choose one cluster here. This is XtraDB cluster, Percona XtraDB cluster. Here you will have, when you select the cluster, you will have an overview of the cluster with some basic metrics like connections, queries, the service status, replication status. But you will also have this dashboard section where you will have more detailed information about the status of the cluster with different metrics. You can monitor the database side and the host side from the same dashboard, from the same section. And well, you also have another option here. If you go to the node section, you can monitor every host here, each host from here, and you can monitor also the database performance on each host also. You have also, we mentioned alerts. So you have advisors here. We have some predefined advisors. You can edit these advisors. So you will have monitoring and alerting on the same tool, and also deployment, as we could see. Then you have backups. We mentioned the backup management. Let's choose, for example, the Postgres cluster here. If you go to the backup section, you will have all the backups here, the list of backups. You can create, restore, or schedule a backup. Here, let's see how to schedule one backup. You need to specify when you want to run this backup, and then you need to specify the backup method. For what this backup method depends on the technology. For Postgres, we have pgdump, pgbase backup, and pgbarrest. The pgbarrest can be full, differential, or incremental backup. And then you need to specify backup host, storage location, directory, and you can also upload this backup to the cloud in the same show. I mean, cluster control will take the backup, will store the backup in the specified location here, and also will upload the backup to the cloud if you have some AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud account. Then you can specify the compression level, encryption, retention, and also cluster control has a verify backup feature. You will always receive a notification that the backup is complete. I mean, you can watch the status on the backup list here. But with this feature, cluster control will take the backup and will restore it in a separate node to confirm that the backup is working. That was another task that we mentioned earlier. Then you have the failover and recovery. Well, cluster control has an auto recovery feature. This could be auto recovery for the node or for all the cluster. If you have this auto recovery feature enabled, cluster control, if you master node is down, cluster control will promote the most advanced slave to new master, and then will reconfigure the rest of the nodes to connect to this new master. Then also, if you have load balancers, cluster control will reconfigure this load balancer too to disable the old master and enable the new one in the writable port. So in this case, in case of failure, you don't need to do anything. Cluster control will file over and reconfigure the necessary things to keep the system working. And you can also perform this task manually. If you want to, for example, for some expected issue or something, if you want to promote a slave, you can go to the node section, pick the slave node, go to the node action and promote the slave. You can also perform different tasks over these nodes. For example, you can review a replication slave, you can restart the nodes, review the host. You can access it by SSH if you want, if you need access the node for some reason. So you can perform this failover in an automatic way, or you can do it manually. Then we mentioned it also. We mentioned the user management. So let's go. For example, I have a MariaDB replication here. Let's go to the manage schema user, where you have the user and schema management. Here you can create a new user, or you can edit the existing ones, and you can drop users, and you can specify, you can limit the privilege. You can assign just selects to a user, and you can specify from where is the connection, so you can limit the privilege in that way. You can also check inactive users, or you can import the database dump files. You can create database from here. And after this, we mentioned security. For security, this section depends on the technology. In this case, in the case of MariaDB, we have SSL encryption and audit log. But this section could be different. If you choose, for example, Postgres, you will have you don't have audit log in that case. But you can enable SSL encryption. And we mentioned it also upgrades. That is important for security reasons. So you can go to manage and check the upgrade section to minor upgrades. Also, we saw operational reports. Operational reports is another feature of cluster control. Let's see an example here. If you go to the operational report section, you can create a new one, or you can schedule an operational report. And you can receive, you can check the operational report here from the cluster control UI, or you can receive it by email. And let's see an example. For example, I created here a Postgres daily report. Here you can see an overview of all the cluster with graph, the status, for example, the backup details or the node status here. And we have different kind of operational report. For example, we have daily system report that we just saw with Postgres. But you also have package upgrade report, schema changes, availability, and backups operational report. You can specify the cluster here, the window size, and the email where you will want to receive it. Let's see another example. Could be an upgrade report here, where you can see all the nodes here, where the current version, the package, the security package to install, and useful information for the security of the nodes. You will also have the option to create an availability report here, where here you will have all the clusters and you can see the downtime, and the current status, the last change, different information related to the availability of all the clusters. You can see each cluster here to check the change of the status or yeah, the current status. Okay, so let me. Okay. So, do you have any questions, Forrest? Are you there? Okay. One question is how many nodes? Sorry, how many nodes needed if I want to use multiple zones? Oh, okay. Well, actually, that depends on the technology. If you are using MySQL replication, for example, you can use one node on each zone, on each data center. And if you are using a Galera cluster, you will need, well, we recommend at least 3 nodes per cluster, but you can deploy 2 nodes and another node in a different data center, but that could be dangerous because of the lag, and yeah, you can configure this in a different way to minimize the risk on that. But yeah, that depends on the technology. Do we have another questions? Okay, I think that's.
Sebastian, can you talk a little bit about the S9S tools to automate different aspects of the management and how it can be integrated with things like Ansible, Salt, Puppet, Chef?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we have a command line tool, S9S tool, where you can perform all these tasks that we mentioned and even more. You can integrate this with external tools that like Ansible, Chef, or Puppet, and you can also, for example, we have an interesting integration with Slack where you can manage the cluster from there. I mean, you can run commands from the Slack. You can, for example, create a new cluster from there, or you can monitor the cluster using just Slack. And yeah, this command line tool is a great tool if you want to perform automatic tasks over the clusters. And yeah, it had different options to manage it. We have a lot of information in the documentation about the commands with examples to run this. So yeah, this is a good tool to manage your cluster. And we have another question. What's a high availability solution for Severalnines installation? Okay, I think this is related to the cluster control itself. You can deploy cluster control in a standalone way with just one node. You can install it with a master with an active cluster control node and then a standby node in another data center, for example. Or we have also a high availability way to install cluster control with 3 nodes. That is a multi-master cluster control installation. So I think the question is if we have high availability for cluster control, and the answer is yes. We have these methods to have high availability for the cluster control installation. And I think, okay, that's it. Well, thank you for joining. Have a great day.